Hello, my fellow creators. You have been chosen to follow me. I will lead you on a path that very few have gone on. You will become one of those lucky ones, one of those happy, joyous people, but you have to go on a path that is treacherous and where your skeptical eyes have to be very wary. I will lead you, but at some point you will become your own leader. You will become a commander, a creator, a person with enlightened eyes. And just like putting on some special glasses, Nietzsche gives you a special way of looking at the world. But he doesn't just tell you to look at the world from a different perspective. That would be doing what other writers have done already, countless others. But Nietzsche gives you a way of becoming those new glasses. It's like those new lenses through which you see the world become a part of you. And that new part of you eventually takes over, and you don't just become someone part of this whole matrix of the world in these imprisoned ways of thinking. You actually become a person who can tell others what to do. You become someone who leads yourself. And this is part 2 of why you should read Nietzsche. I am specifically talking about Thus Spoke Zarathustra, but there are many other books that are worth reading that he wrote. But in this book, he actually collects all of his thoughts, and you can see that he collects all of his thoughts into one piece that actually moves you in an incredible way. But I would start this video by giving you one specific reason that I have introduced already. Nietzsche gives you a different way of looking at the world. He tells you that the world is sometimes not as it seems. It has to be looked into with very skeptical eyes. You have to look at the way that society functions and how you function, but you have to be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to go on this journey, or you're not going to go very far with him. And that's why his book also starts actually, or is titled with the words that this book is for everyone and anyone. But it's not really for everyone. It's only for those who are willing to listen, for those who are actually mature, not in the responsibility sense, but those people who are ready and ripe to listen to a big and powerful message. Throughout the book, he changes your perspective of the world, but he doesn't just change your perspective, he changes who you are and how you see yourself. Why that is important is because he is actually providing an antidote to those very toxic and problematic issues in our modern society, or like the problems that modernity and enlightenment have brought about. There's so much that we have gained from becoming rational individuals and having, for example, freedom of speech and democracy, but there are these little ghosts from the past, the little demons that we have to face so that we actually become leaders and not only followers of this train that might go anywhere and we don't know where it's going. We can actually create instead of only copying. We can actually be human beings instead of rats in a system. We can be individuals instead of people in the middle of a herd trying to be safe. And that's the reason this book is not for everyone, is because if you want to stay safe inside the herd and not be at the danger of losing to other people and seeing how fragile you are and coming into contact with those ugly parts of yourself, if you don't have the energy to do that or the willingness to do that, then you don't need to read this book. But if you do, I would say this is the perfect book to read for your self-realization. But it's not only self-realization, it's also the way that you then act on it. Nietzsche obviously studied philology. He was an incredibly successful academic in philology. He was like one of the most excellent students of his class as well. So he was actually successful, but he chose a different path. He chose the path that doesn't get recognized so greatly, but he then wrote these incredible books, and he used his knowledge of language to then actually write so powerfully that he actually moves you through his words. And it's incredible. Like, I never knew you could do that with words, and it is improving my speech most definitely. And he even speaks in the book about how you become mature, but I read it in German, which he originally wrote it in, where he uses a lot of playful sentences, where he says like, you have to become du musst redlich redlich werden. You have to become mature and educated enough. But he's actually using irony. He's saying, don't become mature like human societies want you to become mature, like these systems expect you to become mature. He's saying, no, become mature in the sense that you form your own way of speaking. You shape your own language. You create yourself. And not only in a superficial sense, in the sense that you investigate yourself so deeply that you get to the level of not even being able to speak about yourself. It's like you've realized the animal inside you, but then you begin to form this new way of speaking. And you even realize new kinds of feelings in your body, new sensations, because you've actually opened those, I think, different functions of your brain. That has at least been my experience. And the thing is, I'm speaking with very little structure, because I think I also learned from this book that a lot of the experiences that we have in life are just paradoxical. And we can structure it, but structuring it can often lead to not quite precisely explaining or describing, or how can I say, putting truth to the power, or like actually, our structures and our categories for whatever we experience can sometimes not fully explain what we are experiencing. And that's why We have to come up with ways to actually be doers, to use our minds not only to think, but eventually use these creative ideas that we have to then shape some kind of piece of music or speeches and pieces of writing, and even leaders, political leaders. What I'm getting to in the end, after saying all of these different things, is you should read Nietzsche because and if you want to become a better version of yourself. And if you want to see the world in a very honest and unique way that's dangerous to the world outside and dangerous to yourself because it puts you at odds with what you've always been comfortable with. But in the end, the book will make you very enlightened, and even in a spiritual sense, even though that part comes very right at the end, where it actually makes you realize how spiritual we are as human beings. That's why you should read Nietzsche.